Allow me to reintroduce myself.
You are now tuning in to the Snap Call Podcast.
Hey everybody, happy Monday. I'm here, it's Hector, here with Xavier.
What's going on, guys?
And Ice is out for work purposes. So we wanted to get started and kind of retouch a topic that we hit before, which was the evolution of poker and how it's kind of changed. So we all know poker is a skill game, Joe, and with every skill you need to practice, you need to learn, and you need to study. So how were you building up your skills when you were starting out in poker? You know, just to ramble a little bit, I know that coming up there wasn't much. You know, we had books, we had Doyle Brunson's Super System, we had, the high stakes poker shows, and just trial by fire, and that was it. You know, now there's, we touched on this previously, but there's 2+2 forums, or you have Solve for Why, you have Upswing, you have Grips, Asinato, you have endless academies, you have endless YouTube videos, 2+2 forums. We could go on and on. Now there's solvers for, GTO styles. So I guess just to start off, what was your way of getting through, without losing your bankroll every time you played? How did you get better? How much did you study? How much did you play? How did you do it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think for me, it was trial by fire for sure. I got into poker when I was in college. So I didn't want to read or study when I was in college. I was very lazy my first couple years. And I'll be damned if I was going to pick up a poker book and read to get better, right? Yeah. If I'm not fixing my grades, I wasn't getting better at poker by reading. Mm-hmm. So definitely trial by fire. Every Friday, we were literally playing poker games in a little house tournament. Very first tournament I won. Second one, third one, I was always placing in the money, right? Mm-hmm. But it was just, whether it was probably a combination of beginner's luck, mm-hmm. Or maybe just kind of feeling the game out. Mm-hmm. But definitely just kind of repetition, right? Repetition. And it wasn't really until I was in a game where we were like three-way all in for the final three to figure out the money, right? And I pushed all in with Queen Jack suited. Me, as a noob, maybe a couple months into the game itself, I thought it was a monster, right? Mm-hmm. Queen Jack suited, three-handed, what am I doing in that situation, right? But me, not knowing any better, I thought it was a great decision. I ended up sucking out, ended up winning. Mm-hmm. But out of all people to correct me and tell me that's not what you want to do, Gufu's the one that was like, You cannot do that in that spot. Yeah. And, he really thought I had an absolute monster. So I gave this idea that I was playing immaculate hands and I was playing great and I was finally exposed. Mm-hmm. Okay. Got lucky, but I got exposed. And that's when I realized, like, okay, if I want to get better, I do need to find better spots. Got lucky, but I need to find better spots. Mm-hmm. So that's what kind of carried me into watching videos. And I know you'll get into like what you would read and the 2+2 forums and whatnot. That was a resource for me, but for me, it was more what was on TV. So high stakes poker, the Poker After Dark, and Poker After Dark, and watching that is what made me a better player at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Watching the mistakes other people were doing, but what I think I learned the most was taking lines that I wouldn't take myself. Okay. The balls that I didn't have, I was watching them do it, and then I incorporated that into my game eventually.
Okay, so it's like what? I should triple barrel this hand. Yeah, I've seen other people do it, and I've never do it, and let's see how it works out.
Yeah, and I'd probably say I didn't watch like any poker shows until 6 to 8 months of playing. Mm-hmm. I'd see like WSOP on ESPN, but I was never watching it with the intent of I want to get better. It was always like, hey, I'm just gonna watch this. Oh man, they're playing for millions of dollars, mm-hmm. But that was it. I think it took a little bit of time for me to kind of say, okay, I want to get better, and I would watch it, but 6 to 8 months tells you like I didn't take it that serious at first. So
you weren't actually writing notes or anything like that. You just play, remember a hand.
Yeah, it was just kind of like
next time.
Exactly, try not to do it the next time. And it wasn't until that hand where I was at the Queen Jack suited where I found myself all in three ways that I had to take a step back and be like, I thought that was a good move, but here's Gufu, who's been playing PokerStar. He'd played for years prior. That I realized, okay, I won, but I was told it was the wrong move.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, you know what? I got to take a step back. If I do want to get better. And I think that me challenging myself made me really fall in love with the game. So
Yeah. No, that's a good point that you bring up, is that there's a lot of holes in our game because they always work out. You know what I mean? Like, I won't say that this is a hole in your game, but when you're like, I always hit my sets. You know,
I do though.
he does. He does always hit his set. But I know that there are times where you're doing it. It's not plus EV, but it's because you hit your sets.
Yeah. No,
and I'm the
100%.
same way. I've noticed, like I feel like I tend to hit my flushes, and I end up chasing a lot of flushes.
Yeah. No, I
You
think
know?
I think in the long run, that has been. I've won a lot of hands, obviously, with sets, but it's definitely probably been minus EV in the course of the long run because my range pre-flop is so much more wide. Obviously, a lot more dynamics get taken into account, but my range pre-flop is so much more wide because I'm like, oh, I got pocket fives. I'm about to bust up that guy's queens right now, and I'll do it, right?
Yeah.
But more often than not, I'm whiffing, and it's working against me. So those are the little things that I found over time that I needed to say, like, okay, like I need to pick up, and how do I get better, and pre-flop ranges and all that, and obviously tournament versus cash, you take all that into account. But
Yeah.
that's a good point you made because it has affected my game because it gets to your head. Like
Yeah.
ice is known to hit his flushes too.
Oh,
But
and what is this?
and-
10-2 he likes.
yeah,
to
he
play?
likes to play king two.
Oh, king
right.
two,
So
there you
king
go.
two, I'm sure he's minus EV over time with that.
Yeah.
But he likes to play king two, and he hits his flushes. And ice tends to run really, really good and pure when he sits at a table. So he'll get hot for 2 hours, and then he'll kind of cool down, make some hands, but he just runs hot. So I think in his head, he expects to make money right away. While me, I have to grind it the heck out, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. So, but his style of play, works well for a new person at a table as well.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's a good point. So his style of play, your style of play, our style of play is that we can do those negative EV moves because we know how to navigate them moving forward. And we've done it so much that we're comfortable with that. I know what to do when I don't hit my set. I know what to do, with my flush draws, and he knows what to do with his king deuce. You know what I mean? To give him the best option because we've done it so much, and it is our comfort spot. So I know for me, when I was doing it, I really relied on Poker Tracker and stuff like that because I mainly did a lot of stuff online. So, so the HUD was very important to me. And like I said, with my flush, I just noticed and I was like, man, I really do hit a lot of flushes. Even the numbers said so. I was like at 70%, and I'm like, man, that's not the norm. But I felt like that was my way of teaching myself, is just seeing the numbers either go up or down or anything like that. Books themselves, I wasn't a big fan of books. I liked videos, but of course that didn't come on till later on. So it was a lot of high stakes poker wasn't my show. It was that celebrity poker I used to watch because I felt like that was more of the games I was playing. Just people talking shit and just having fun with each other and using that to angle and stuff like that. So I felt like that was more my style of just trying to be loose and enjoy the game. But yeah, I would even now study is minimal. And I think that's probably what I put as my biggest detriment. So when we're going into a new person, right? We have Fernando behind the board here, and he's brand new. We're trying to teach him what would be the most optimal way to teach him. How would we do that moving forward? How much study will we tell him to do? How much play should he do? Should he just enroll in an academy and ground zero, or is it going to be trial by fire?
yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, I think early on, especially, I think jumping right in is going to be the best way to learn. So I'd probably say maybe and this is probably very drastic, but it may be a hot take of sorts, but I'd say to get your feet wet, maybe 70% of the time you should be playing, 30% of the time you should be studying. Because, I mean, you pick up on so much more of the game just by playing, right? Like seeing the flop, knowing how to call a bet, knowing how to three bet, like little things. And then I think once you kind of get an understanding of the type of game you want to play, because everyone has a very different style, their personality is very much in tune with their style of play. Then I think you can kind of take a step back and say, okay, this is where maybe some of my weaknesses are, or maybe this is some of my strengths. I need to study and work on this, right? That's how I learned. I know obviously everyone learns a little bit differently, but like I go back and I think about Victor, right? Like Victor would play with us, at the home games and whatnot, and then it wasn't until maybe after like 3 or 4 home games that we sat with him and we ran through hands and kind of gave him some pointers and whatnot. And then the very next time we played, the guy almost took it down, right?
Yeah.
So I think him seeing and playing with some seasoned people helped get over that fear. And then he was able to say, okay, now I want to get better. Show me. And I think that worked a lot in his favor.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was definitely the mental side for him. One, the vocabulary and vernacular that he doesn't know when we're saying three bet or set or something like that. So him learning that, and he was definitely a sponge for it. But once we were able to like, hey, this is how you play. Like, we know exactly how you play by what you're doing, and it's very transparent. And you got to mix it up. You got to get aggressive. You got to bluff. You got to do this, and then once I guess it just clicked for him, and that is probably the biggest misconception for a lot of people, is that being a losing player and a winning player, you could just be right there at the 2-yard line. And it's just a couple tweaks, and you don't know it, until someone points it out. So yeah, it's good to have a coach, good to have other poker friends, talk things out, even if they're bad at it. You know what I mean? Because then you can see how bad at it what they're saying, and then do your own thing anyway. You know what I mean? Because there'll be times I would like, hey, you shouldn't have done that, and he calls me out for all my, hey, what are you doing with limping with kings? So things like that. It's just like, hey, I don't even. Sometimes I don't even know what I was thinking. Sometimes I can't even express my own thoughts, and that could be a hole in your game, that you might just be doing stuff.
Yeah.
You might just be smashing buttons and not really thinking about the game. And it, like we said before, it is a skill game, and it is a skill that you need to hone.
Isn't one of like the interesting things about poker is like you can play pocket kings, right? Like kind of going back to it, like I always get on you about how you'll play pocket kings, but isn't like the beauty of it that you can play pocket kings every single time?
Yes.
Like you can choose to limp and then 3, 4, 5 bet, whatever the case may be. You may choose to be the pre-flop aggressor. There's just so many ways you can play, and I kind of think that adds to like the beauty of poker, right? Like, and just kind of the unknown at the end of the day. Like you watch these tournaments and you're seeing people, they're taken into, being in the money for those that don't know in poker, for poker tournaments, being in the money, maybe it makes more sense in the long run. It's going to be more, plus EV, as they say, to fold your pocket kings pre-flop, when typically you're never folding pocket kings pre-flop.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because there's not many sports that you have to factor so many dynamics on a hand by hand basis. Poker's that much. Like it truly is a skill game when you break it down, at that micro level.
Yeah, I agree with that. You should be playing more than you should be studying. I have seen it on other videos that they say like 50-50, or like every hour you're playing, you should study 3 hours. And for me, I mean, that's not gonna keep me in the game. That's gonna make me think like a solver, and I'm like I'm more of a feel person anyway. And the main reason I'm playing poker is for fun. I'm not trying to quit my job. I'm not trying to like go on tour or anything like that. I'm just here to have fun. So if I can't rely on my own instincts, then like I just don't see myself being comfortable and having a good time. Tiger Woods said it best, like, hey, you want to get better at golf? Just go out there and whack some balls. Stop watching YouTube and just go whack some balls.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're saying here. It's just go play. Just go play. Play in stakes that you're comfortable with. Play with stakes that, the money doesn't matter. And just have fun with the game. Because, in essence, it's all the same game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's why when I watch like the higher staked games, these $1 million games and stuff, like, granted, yeah, those guys can get out of line at times in terms of the way they play.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's so out of line that it's unrealistic, right? Because they are still playing with real money.
Yeah.
But I truly think across the board, we're talking, it's very relative regardless of the dollar amount. You could be watching a live 1-2 game versus a live 100-200 game. It's the same game at the end of the day, and that's why I've always considered live cash games or even pre-tape cash games really good study material. And again, for me, it's mainly because of the lines that I'm not normally taking.
Yeah.
That I look at those games and say, I need to be open to that. I need to be able to call that stack off with ace high. I could probably count on my hand how many times I've called a stack off with ace high. So may not always incorporate it into my game, but I definitely think it's beneficial. Now let me ask you this. So as someone that grew up in the online poker school, right? And we always give you crap for that. Like it's a very different type of game than live, right? I'm happy to say that I was there and kind of witnessed a lot of your first live sessions, and which obviously you did very well in. And it was, for someone, again, same game, right? So you were able to transition pretty well. But going from online poker to live poker, what would you say was the hardest thing to transition to, and what holes did you find right away or over time that you didn't realize when you were playing strictly online poker?
Well, moving from tournament to cash, I think is probably my biggest thing. I mean, I sit there and, you get into a tournament, you go, you give your buy-in, and your money's gone. That's it. These are your chips, and I'm here to play for all of it or walk away with nothing. You know what I mean? So it's hard to get out of that mindset that, hey, I'm playing for 2 hours and then I'm just gonna walk away with whatever I have.
Yeah.
I'm gonna so playing cash, and it's like, oh, I got, if I'm down to my last 20 blinds, it was like, well, that's push or that's shove or fold, so territory. So I'm thinking it in that sense, as opposed to, hey, let's grind this up.
Yeah.
Or hey, walk away with 90 is better than walking away with 0, or walking away with 140 is whatever, if I'm only buying in for 100 or something like that. But it was just always in my head that I'm either leaving broke or I'm leaving with all the money, and it's so that I think that's probably the biggest hurdle that I had to get through. Also online, we're very big on 3x. So I'm gonna 3 times the blind. They don't do that in 1-2. A normal raise at 1-2 is not $6.
No, it's like
it's like
5
$11,
to
$12.
10x.
Yeah, and then same thing going to 2-5. It was like, oh, here's $15, and then people are like, shut up, man, get out of here. Who's this minnow? We're about to take his money. So those little things that you have to adjust for. I know some people are like, no, just stay to it. It's minus EV to go that way. But if that's the way the table's playing, that's the way the table's playing. And like I said, I'm there to have fun.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because, like, I started out playing live, and then Gufu eventually started getting me into like Poker Stars and Full Tilt, and like after work on a Saturday night or something, because we normally would play live on Friday in these little mini tournaments. We would jump on Poker Stars or Full Tilt and jump into these massive tournaments, right? And I learned very quickly that I have a lot of patience live. To this day, I have a lot of patience, but online, no patience. Just no patience online. I find myself with much wider ranges.
I feel that way.
Yeah.
Opposite though.
Yeah.
I could sit at a computer for 12, 18 hours. I broke night 6 in the morning, but yeah, you put me live, I'm just like, can I get a beer? Like
now, Now, most of your live experience is cash, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, do you think you would feel the same way if you played a lot more MTTs live?
I wish. I mean, you would think I would do that. I don't know. It's so much easier to get away from the family for a cash game than it is for a whole day tournament, or all night tournament. So it's like, hey, babe, I'm gonna head out and play for 4 or 5 hours. That's okay. But when it's like, hey, we're gonna be gone, potentially 2 days, it's a harder sell. So I don't do it as much. WSOP, I was, I did well with the shootout, and then that first hour, you know, I knocked out with 5 people, and then the second hour, you were like, I got like four big blinds. You know, so I don't. I'm not sure. I think I just need more reps.
I was gonna
to
say
give you a better answer.
I would say because I feel like when I'd go and sit at the 1-2 tables with you,
Yeah.
right? Like you are patient.
Yeah.
You're very patient.
Yeah.
Obviously, taking out any time constraints that you're facing. So
Yeah.
I think if you were playing more MTTs live, you would be just as patient, given, the blinds and the levels and whatnot. But I'll never forget that. I'll never forget at the shootout, man. Like looking over at you, and then like we came together during our break, and I was like, I got this much. Ice is like, I got this much, and you're like, I've got this much. And we're like, what the hell? So like we already in the back of our minds thought Hector was gonna win his shootout table. You were punching a ticket for day 2, locking up $4,500. And then I think like the middle or to the end of the next level, I looked to my right and Hector's on my rail, and I was like, wait, like what are you doing here? And
It was impatience that output it to. You know, like I had kings. Guy called me with
there
fives.
goes that hand again.
And he hit the 5. He hit the 5. It was all in pre-flop. He picked up his book bag and started walking away, and it was just gonna be heads up. And I was towering over the other guy, and yeah, he just hit the 5 on the turn, and it honestly it did not leave me crippled. Maybe I had like 10 big blinds, but it tilted me so bad because I was running so pure on everybody. Like I didn't even have to look. I was just like, yeah, all in, and I just double ended, straight. Oh yeah, here's a flush. Here's probably like 2 or 3 full houses, like all within the first 1 or 2 hours of playing my first WSOP for $150.
Yeah, the decisions were easy for you. Those are
Yeah. And then I finally hit the one bump in the road, and I'm like, oh, that's it. It's over. I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't. So I totally bombed that. Like it mentally bombed it. I need to get back there.
Yeah.
You know.
I'd say at the shootout, I pretty much played. In all honesty, I mean, like I know on day 1 I had 1 bracelet holder. Peter Eichert was at my table, and there was 1 or 2 other people I recognized, but I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And the only person that I was like, I had one of those like Mike McD moments. I was like, I'm gonna play at him this one time, And I bombed the river on him with like a jack with that ace out there, and I got him to fold his hand, and he told me, he ended up telling me that he had a weak ace. Obviously he had me beat, but it was one of those where it was just that validating feeling, right? Like I could play with these guys, and then after that. It was pretty much ABC poker up to that. I took a chance on that hand. Yeah. Once you become chip lead, then I made some moves here and there, but yeah. But again, that comes from I probably don't make that move if I'm not watching other people make that move in the long run, right? I mean, my game pretty much is more or less ABC poker unless I have a really good feel for the other guy's hand and his position. So
yeah. Oh yeah, no, that trip. I know we bring it up a lot in the podcast, but that trip was a very like game validating trip. Like I'm doing well in this tournament. And yeah, like I ran pure, but I also felt like I made a lot of good moves. And then the next day we did a daily, and same thing. I lost the pocket fives on the turn, and I think I had jacks. But all in all, I was like, I can hang with these people. Yeah. It's not just I don't just have to play online or just in my local card room. I can hang with, the best in the world.
Yeah. I think that's, and I think that's why, at least for myself, like I just, I'm realistic, but then at the end of the day, I just in the back of my head, I have these potential like hopes and dreams, right? And I think it's because like there's no sport in the world, right? There's no profession really in the world where you can sit with the best of the best, and on any given day you have a chance to win. And I think that's the beauty of poker, and what keeps hopes alive in terms of poker players.
Exactly.
So just kind of going back real quick to Fernando, right? So for someone like Fernando, kind of going back to that 70-30, definitely a lot more playing I would recommend on the front end. And then less studying. I think the biggest thing is just getting a feel for the game and having that level of comfortableness, and then being able to say, okay, I'm gonna work on my game now. There's just so much reading material now. It's
Yeah.
and so many videos. Everyone's got these things, and I know that's something we want to incorporate later on this stream. Kind of like, hey, like how would you play this hand? Yada yada. Yeah, it's if you ever wanted to get into poker, now is a fantastic time, right? Because
Yeah.
your resources are endless.
Yeah, we don't want you to get sidetracked with so much, and get overwhelmed or like, oh, this is too much, or what would we have to do here? Just go play.
Yeah.
Just go play with stakes that you're comfortable with. Do some home games, and eventually when you feel comfortable, then you add on.
Yeah, and it's and when you do research and you do study, you're gonna come up to terms like GTO and all these things, and it's like you'll find that the game of poker is just comes down to mathematics at the end of the day, and you can truly play the game based off of just making the most informed decision based off math. Like you don't need to have any feeling about the other person's hand, just saying, hey, at the end of the day, statistically, this is the right move. I can never play the game like that.
Yeah.
I know there's
Yeah.
people like you got your Doug Polks and whatnot that can play like that all day long, and obviously he's one of the best heads up players in the world. But there's definitely a level of emotion and feel that I still feel like is in the game of poker that you can't remove.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when it becomes math or odds, like you can play it 100% correct and still lose.
Yep.
So if I'm gonna play it someone else's way and still lose, that's what's gonna upset me. So I'd rather play it my way, and then if I lose, I think about it and say, hey, is there something that I should have caught that I didn't? You know what I mean? Or even if you win, because like we said, if you win, that's probably your biggest Achilles heel is that, hey, you could be doing something wrong and you didn't think about it. But you think about the hands, and if you feel comfortable with your decision, then that's all you need.
Yeah, and it's funny because when we play blackjack, right, we always talk about the book. The book says this.
Yeah.
The book says this. And truthfully, blackjack is probably the only game in a casino where you have to take all emotion out of it, and you can say, hey, I have to do what the book says. The book says stay here, or the book says hit here, right? And poker, you can't
And it's
just
still
go by-
losing.
and you can still lose.
And
Yeah.
it's still a losing proposition. If you stay there, never change your bet, and play exactly the way you're supposed to, you still lose money.
100%. And that's the thing with poker, very different, right? Like, yes, the book says this, but I saw this guy do this with King 9 earlier. So is he doing it again? Or I saw him get out of line earlier, or he showed the table a bluff earlier. So like there's just so many more dynamics that come into play. And I think that's why I know that's why poker is just so satisfying when you do win and you do make those right calls, because that's when that feel comes in, that intuition plays into the game, and you're like, I made the right move. I outplayed him.
Yep. So go out there, guys. Go earn your stripes responsibly. Play responsible. Stay within your bankroll.
Absolutely. So, kind of switching up topics here. This is one of Ice's topics, so we'll cover it in honor of Ice. But Ice wanted to talk about a lot of the drama that was going on in poker this past week. We've got drama with poker backers calling out Maurice Hawkins. We've got drama between Dean Eggs and Berkey, and just drama up and down the poker world. So, first going into Maurice Hawkins, if you have been in poker for the last 10 plus years, and you're familiar with the WSOP circuit, you're familiar with Maurice Hawkins. I believe Maurice Hawkins has the most WSOP rings all time. Obviously a proven winner, obviously someone that has results. He's obviously someone that doesn't or can't get away from controversy either, right? Multiple times over, I'd probably say the last 7-8 years, I've heard his name being brought up in terms of him not paying back his backers. And I've seen him post videos about, I don't owe anyone nothing, or I've seen him just say kind of F the haters, blocking y'all out, yada, yada. So, most recently, it's kind of popped up again, and we're in WSOP circuit season, so it makes sense. WSOP is upon us, right? So people are trying to collect. So one of his backers came back out and has been posting screenshots of things he's been saying. And he brought up an instance of when Maurice Hawkins had lost money playing blackjack, was basically saying, I lost my money, yada, yada, like, I'll get you back, all this stuff, right? He basically said he lost his mind and whatever. Unfortunately, we all kind of been there, right? In this case, he had a backer, right? And, so caused a lot of friction within the poker community because that's not the only backer that he owes money to. So, with that said, your thoughts on backing players in general, and your thoughts on this specific situation with Maurice Hawkins.
So, backing in general, I like the concept of it, but it needs to be, it's we're all the grown adults. It needs to be people you trust. You know what I mean? I don't live in this world where I can just, give someone that I casually know 100K and trust that they're gonna give me their A game. You know what I mean? When it comes to tournaments, I don't see the point in backing really. Cash games I can understand a little bit more. Just like the only way I see. Let me take that back with tournaments. If you're playing in a tournament, I can't play. Sure, let me throw in and get a cut of yours because I can't play and it's like I'm playing and you're my boy and I want to see you do well. But just like a random guy, like let me just throw D-negs on there, like it's just sports betting for me, and that's never been my my bag that I enjoy. Doing all this behind closed doors and just gentleman's agreement. When it comes to this amount of money, I need to trust you like 110%. So I know there's YouStake and other staking websites that you can put all your money in. Yeah, do that, but just to be like, hey, yeah, here you go. Here's some bricks and go do what you got to do. I just don't understand that you're begging you're begging for this for it to go sideways. Yeah. And I know a lot of people they just do it and they're cool with it until something happens and then they go through this whole process. But for me, I'd rather just eliminate that in general.
Yeah, no, I'm 100%. I mean, I believe in helping people out when they need it, right? Like if I had the funds to help people out 100%. When you enter like the gaming world or the gambling world, and whether it's poker or whatever the case may be, like you have to understand there's risk involved, right? Mm-hmm. There's a risk of that person not being able to deliver on winning. Mm-hmm. And I'm all about like being upfront with that person, right? Like, hey, you need to understand the risk before you back me or whatever the case may be, right? But at the same time, the backer needs to understand the other risk is going to be whether or not they're ever going to pay you back, right? And that's when you should only be dealing with people that are reputable, right? And I think that's why, we have these sites now, where you have the opportunity to buy some action, whether it's at a markup or not. And I love that. I think that's great, and that's something I think I wanted to look at this summer, where it's just like, hey, can't get in some of these tournaments. Why not get, a couple % of someone being able to sweat it along with them, right? Yeah. If you lose, you lose. But at least a lot of those sites are legitimate. And, it's backed by results, right? So you can look at someone's Hendon Mom and get a good understanding of whether or not they're a winner or not. Mm-hmm. So I do like that. Backing someone in a tournament, obviously someone with a shady history, you're just asking for trouble, like you said. But the caveat in this situation, right, is Maurice Hawkins has proven results. And that's the tough thing, right? I can bet money that this person, that their most recent backer, had no idea that he had stiffed other backers, because I doubt they would have given all 6 figures, right? I think it was a Garcia, court ruled in favor of Garcia owing or being, him as the backer was being owed $115,000. Like, that's insane that anybody would even be in a position to offer that to someone that has such proven results, which raises another question. Why do you need to be backed? Yeah. You have how many WSOP rings? Like, what are you doing with your bankroll? So, there's definitely a lot unknown there. And kind of going into the buying action, right? Like, I love the idea of buying action. I love, from these pros if possible. I love the idea of swapping percentages out with people that are in a tournament with you that are friends. I am against these pros swapping action in their high stakes tournaments, though. I've always thought it was kind of shady. You're talking about these Poker Go tournaments, these Triton tournaments, because they're swapping. They're swapping at the end of the day, whether they're not being public about it. Even 2, 5, 10% when these payouts are 3, 4, 500,000 sometimes. I think that I don't sit well with that.
So you think there's collusion?
I think at some point there's some collusion. I mean, like, you know, you look at Alex Foxen, right, and Kristen Foxen, right? Like, there is video of them being, I say video as if like it's hidden camera or something, but I remember them playing at a table, at a final table, and it was three-handed. Alex and Kristen Foxen and one other person, and there was one hand that was very deliberate of soft play between the two of them. They are married. So that is very much a red flag in my opinion. Now, you're never going to be able to stop a married couple from entering a tournament, and the likelihood that they're both in the final three is going to be tough anyways. But there are a lot of interested parties at times when you're swapping percentages. Oh, I got a big stack. Let me get out of D negs because I got 10% of his action, right? I'm not saying everyone does it, but it has always raised a red flag for me just because you there's some sort of soft play taking place at some point. What are your thoughts on?
No, that makes sense. I've never really thought about swapping that hard. You know what I mean? Just because, like, when we're doing it, it's like 1%, 1%, 2% of whatever we're doing. But no, that I could see that totally being a thing that you're thinking about. That even if the idea is in your head about what this could do, that's a cause for concern. Because the whole point is that we're all on a level playing field. We're all playing the same rules, and there's no angle in any way that make us think that we're not on the up and up. And if the opportunity is there, then we have an issue. Yeah. Not that it's going to happen, just that the opportunity is there. And that's how I feel with this backing. That, hey, if I know, even let's say you win, you take it down. I watch you on TV. I see you on Poker Go, take it down. And yet somehow I still don't get my money. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
That's on me that I wasn't there securing my bag. You know what I mean? That's why I like the site so much, that it just kind of takes care of it. Even online is doing that. I think, what is it? GG Poker has staking. I don't know if ACR does or anything like that, or WSOP, but yeah, they're starting to include it too. And I think it's a fun thing, but you have to be safe.
Yeah. No, 100%. So kind of shying off of the backing drama that Maurice Hawkins continues to create, and going into, Ice would say my favorite, D-Negs versus Matt Berkey.
Yes, tell me this. Tell me this story.
So, D-Negs, Matt Berkey, probably two of many, but two of the more opinionated poker players in the poker world. Berkey, he's not one to shy away about his opinions, right? And Jonathan Little, a very proven, great poker player, often posts like, hey, you want to crush your 1-2 poker game? This is what you want to do, yada, yada, yada. Want to learn more? pokercoaching.com or whatever the case may be. So he's, he is a poker coach. He offers one-on-one coaching, and what you can consider his own academy of sorts, to become a better poker player, right? Hey, more to him. He has proven results, and he wants to monetize his skill. I'm all about it, right? Now, Berkey was accused of essentially of bullying Jonathan Little, because he was commenting on his post and basically like, this stuff isn't realistic. You're not going to get real results from this, and just kind of going in on him. And it happened over the course of, a week or two, and just kind of going in. And again, Berkey's not one to shy away from doing such things. Yeah. And so much so that it caught Negreanu's attention, and Negreanu was just kind of like, hey, like, back off. Like, you know what I mean? And I think when you kind of look at, at a high level, you're thinking, oh, just Berkey's giving him a hard time, yada, yada. But then you think about the vested interest at play, right? Jonathan Little, proven poker player, great tournament player. He now has his own poker tutorials, coaching academy, one-on-one training, whatever the case may be. Matt Berkey, Solve for Why, has a whole team, has a whole podcast, has a whole studio to, teach and educate poker players, right? Shout out to Charlie, one of our buddies, who actually went and attended one of the Solve for Why sessions over the course of a couple of days. Now, when you look at that, it's like, okay, so what's really your motive here? Is it to let these younger beginning players know that Jonathan Little's strategies and antics to make you a better player at the 1-2 level and make it profitable? Is it genuine, or is it simply because he's in the same field of poker education and he wants more market share. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, on the on the surface, I think they have two different business models. Like Jonathan Little is very much 1-2 cash player. 2-5. Maybe you could use it for 5-10 and stuff like that. And then your everyday tournaments. I feel like that's his model. Berkey and Solve for Why, I think they're a little bit high end, playing 5-10 players and higher tournaments and more GTO style type things. And even I think the academy is pretty penny to get into and all that.
It's not cheap.
You know what I mean? So I just don't think they're going after the same customer. To really gauge that's why Berkey would go after him like that, unless that's just really what he thought, that hey, what you're providing is not of value. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, because I have done Jonathan Little's stuff, and I found it valuable. I felt like it definitely helped me, if not only helped my game, but also the mental aspect of what you're thinking, which is one of the bigger parts of poker. Now, is it GTO style? Is it the most optimal style? Maybe not, but it works for some people. It worked for me for a couple months, and then I'm like, all right, I'm over this.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm glad you mentioned that. Like, that are they even going after the same customer? Because that was a comment that came across, was just like, Berkey, why are you giving him a hard time? Like, he's not trying to steal your people, like, and like you said, like, Berkey probably thinks, or not thinks, but he teaches poker, and his logic on poker is at a very, very, very high intelligent level. You hear Berkey talk, he almost, and he doesn't mean to, but you almost feel dumb listening to him
need
talk.
A dictionary or a
because
to keep up with some of the things he's saying.
Exactly, and it's just it's he'd be a difficult person to have a regular conversation with it without him throwing words like osmosis out like you do and stuff. But it's just interesting because I just would love to know what his motives are at the end of the day. I think the poker community is large enough where everyone can kind of get a slice of the pie. And like you said, Jonathan Little has some really good, valuable education material out there. So
hey, he hit the final table at that shootout that we were at.
He was at the final table of the shootout we were in.
Just
exactly.
another
And he did take down a tournament maybe a month and a half ago. That was pretty significant. I think it was like, $200K plus prize pool, or not prize pool, first place payout.
Has he made any comments?
In all honesty, I have not really seen him say anything.
Yeah.
And truthfully, Negreanu likes to make a lot of things about him.
Yeah.
So I think it became Negreanu versus Berkey.
Yeah.
Versus, and there was less Jonathan Little talk going on. But that's really what stemmed from the drama that's kind of going on between them. And don't have the tweets here to show, but like, it went beyond poker. It went to basically like, you're being an a-hole, and then it just kind of kept going and going and snowballing.
That's D-Nex.
D-Nex telling Berkey.
That's D-Nex being extra.
But
was Berkey being disrespectful, or was he just trying to cut up the business?
He was very much downplaying how relevant some of this teaching material could be. I think it's one thing to be like, hey, say a couple things, but like from what I remember, I think he like quoted the tweet of Jonathan Little and then said some things to the point where it's just like, like it's one thing to comment on it, but when you quote it, you're like now owning this opinion and you're against it. And I just felt like there was definitely a better way to go about it. Because it came across like very bully-like behavior. It really did. Negreanu was definitely taking it to a different level. But the comments weren't necessary. I mean, 100%. They just weren't. So,
okay. I mean, that's surprising. I mean, it's like, I like Berkey, I like Jonathan Little. I like, so for them to be going heads up on their views just seems weird. It's like mom and dad fighting.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because like I thought about it for a little bit, and same thing. I was just like, why already going at it? But I guess D-Nex feels like he has to defend Jonathan Little.
And then D-Nex just being D-Nex. Like he's outspoken.
Yeah. He's gonna say what he wants, and it's just who he is. But it's now kind of progressed into this Jonathan Little versus Berkey, to D-Nex and Berkey. Less about Jonathan Little, and now it's progressed into this Landon Tice and Jeremy Becker. So And we will cover Jeremy Becker's rise in poker probably in the next couple streams. But if you're not aware, there's a very large prop bet going on in poker right now where Landon Tice and Jeremy Becker are going to be facing off against each other. And they're going to be backed. I don't know if they're 100% backed, but I know Neground was backing Becker and Berkey's backing Tice. And what's happening is they're playing in 25 events each, and they're going to review the results after the fact. So it started out with even money being offered on both sides.
Okay.
A lot of people started leaning towards Becker, and people that were on Tice's side were then getting plus money. There's obviously a lot of things at play here in order to make sure that it's being graded fairly, right? Like multiple buy-ins, all these things. So they're still figuring out the point system, and is it going to just be based off of like, percent? I don't know exactly. Like maybe who collects the most money and the average placement, whatever the case. But it's really interesting because Jeremy Becker's like in his mid-20s. He used to live in Florida. He went out to Vegas, and I've seen this kid for like the last year on Twitter just take down tournament after tournament after tournament at the Wynn, at the Venetian. And it got to the point where like he became a meme. He became a meme because he kept winning so much. But it caught the poker world by storm. People are like, why does he just keep winning? Why does he keep winning? So that is kind of what led into the D-Negs kind of, and the Berkey and Landon Tice. So now like the poker world's kind of split.
Yeah.
In regards to who's backing who and stuff. And again, we will talk about Jeremy Becker in a couple weeks.
That's awesome.
It's so interesting. And a lot of people are going after Becker and they're just like saying stuff to him about like partnering with D-Negs and being backed and all this. And he's like, D-Negs is like my poker hero. I have a chance to be backed by my hero. I'm hanging out with him. I'm learning from him. Like, why wouldn't I take this opportunity?
I mean, we should have that every year with, just two players going head to head and having that fun, tournament. Like, hey, we're gonna do these many events, and see who comes out, and maybe they have like their own stupid prop bet that they're doing on the side, like workout or burpees or running a mile or something like, or golf or whatever they do.
Yeah,
but I think I'm here for it just to see like, hey, let's see two people going head to head and see who has the best summer. I mean, essentially that's what we're doing when we do they do that 25K, poker
fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy league, and when we do our fantasy league, and it's always what Sean Deeb and Negranu, and we love to see it. Yeah. We want to see who comes out with more braces. We want to see if anybody gets closer to Helmuth. So this adding another, I love it.
Yeah. What I think the thing I like most about the Landon Tice and Jeremy Becker is it's just heads up. We're talking two great poker players playing 25 events. Once they figure out exactly how they're going to make this a very measurable competition, I think it's going to be great for poker in general, especially when you have so many big names backing these two players. Prop bets in general are really interesting and fun, but being able to do it during the WSOP is going to be great. I wouldn't be surprised if some poker sites are already offering props as to who's gonna, win this tournament.
Yes.
But once they figure out exactly how they're gonna do the scoring, I think it's gonna be really, really interesting. Again, we will talk about Jeremy Becker in a future stream. I want to wait until we get a little bit closer to WSOP because I really want to follow his summer, because if you look at that kid's Hendon mob right now, I mean, when I tell you, it seems like he's placing in a tournament every other day. It's a meme. It is just crazy. And recently people are just like, how does he run so good? How does he play so good?
Yeah.
And he basically straight up said, I don't study.
Yeah.
I basically play this style of poker where I go off based off feeling. And that's kind of how I always thought, like, kind of just like intuition, you kind of go with it. Obviously you got to understand some basic math and you can incorporate higher level math at certain points, but it was refreshing to see him say that because this kid's just killing the poker scene on a almost a nightly basis in Vegas, and here he is basically saying, I'm just playing poker.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that so many times with poker pros that they get into a groove and they're just playing good poker, not just for one tournament. It's just months at a time. What was it? Bonomo has that run.
Bonomo had a great run.
Fedor had a run like that.
Fedor had like a year and a half at that. He
still
still runs just so great.
It's just awesome to see.
Yeah, isn't it interesting how that works though? Like Andrew Roble, for instance, right? Like whenever I see that guy play on high stakes, sorry, that's my dog. Whenever I see Andrew Roble play on high stakes poker, that dude just always does the right thing. He always gets rewarded for playing well. and the guy just runs good. I mean, the guy just runs great. And then I feel like you'll see someone like John Robert, and he just runs like ass. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him be profitable in a stream.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, and it's not his fault. I mean, the guy just runs bad sometimes. I feel terrible for him.
Like Mattisau.
Mattisau, man.
Or even Helmuth. I'm like, how do you have 16 bracelets?
Yeah.
Every time I see you on TV, you're taking like a horrible loss.
I'll never forget. I was rooting for Helmuth last year. I think he played in the 10K Super Turbo Bounty. I think it was 10K, and he ended up winning that tournament. And I'll never forget how bad I felt for him, because granted, the guy just took down a couple 100,000, no big deal, tons of bounties. But I remember watching the final hand that took place, and it was someone recording his table. He wasn't at a feature table. He was at like a regular table like we were playing at. And it was probably like 3, 4 in the morning. I don't remember, but it was barely anyone around. He wins a bracelet. I remember he runs down the hall. He comes back. He's excited, number or whatever. And like, no one's there to witness this. Like, this is the all-time bracelet holder, and no one's there to just elevate this dude, you know? But the joy in his face, you would have never thought that. And I think that just goes to show Helmuth doesn't need all that. You know, he already considers himself the best in the world. Yeah. And I just thought it was so interesting. But I remember I was following along, and then once he started, he got short stacked, and then once he started leading the final table, I was like, oh shit, like this guy's gonna win another one. And just again, kind of going back to like just these people that have runs over the years. Like, say what you want about Helmuth and the way he plays and his style sometimes, like he is clearly fantastic at navigating through, these poker fields.
Yep.
So, cool. So, Ice did want us to play this video. It's Matt Berkey versus Nick Airball at recently at a live stream. So we're gonna go ahead and play that for you right now. I believe someone gets a little upset, so just take a peek.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
That's all. Poisoning's the worst.
Comes with the limp, Berkey.
It's good.
Airball
Literally turned up. He looked like
I'd
I'd been in the hospital.
Right.
Like if everyone is like, this is soft, I'm doing
Dusted off
great,
700K and left.
then like it's a good lineup.
Diamonds working for
I was
Airball.
like, why did you even come for like.
What better way to spend 700? You know?
You could have just like stayed. I think you should have stayed in bed. But obviously it's a bit
They
late
still
to
have
advise that
a
now.
great deal of heads-up experience.
What was that advice?
Clearly, Nick.
You were giving that opposite.
In the midst of a
I
death
was
match
gonna say
about
you were I
halfway
didn't say you were
through.
ducking us, but
Land.
I'm always going to say that, right?
I think it's 3 days a week. They're
Terrible.
going to complete 100 hours.
How you got back into the game, Lynn?
Berkey's
you were
up
playing like
around
1-2 or something.
300,000 right now.
Clean turn
In
from
this
that.
game?
Yeah,
Oh,
you were
with
playing like
all
1-2.
of you lovely
I thought
people,
you
I
were
just
playing
get
at 1-2
passed
at the
up.
Commons.
I haven't been playing much poker these last few years, actually. Yeah.
You said the commoners?
Commerce.
Oh, the commerce.
Yeah.
Have you
If I
got?
was playing 1-2 with the
Have you got
commoners,
OnlyFans?
I'm like, damn, these
No, but I
Brits are
do
really
have a real
elite,
job
huh?
No.
Goes for the overbet.
We're
Probably by
We
spirit.
do loans for businesses,
Wait till he finds that out.
but it's like high
Airballs
risk, high default, and also high interest.
Need a loan, Rob?
Yeah. Can I have a loan? I like the high risk, high default.
Flush does come for Airball.
What do we sign up?
Means we'd have to pay, yeah?
Yeah, no collateral, sounds like. It's big interest rate if we pay it back, right?
Yeah, it's big interest. But if you don't plan on paying, it's
Yeah.
it's
Perhaps
yeah, you're great.
Berkey having that ace of
I feel like I
diamonds
know
in
you
his
really
hand.
well. I've seen
Right.
so many naked pictures of
It's
you.
like he's targeting the chat.
Yeah, targeting that
Yeah,
jack,
what was
Nick.
up with that week?
This could
I
be
was just like-
problematic,
I was
assuming
having
Airball
fun
comes with a raise.
Like, naked. And I'm like, what the?
And we know this guy is
Main event
capable of
swap.
coming with
Then you
bluffs.
moved it.
Airball.
And then it was back to poker. And I'm
Tough
like, did I
spot coming
imagine
for
that?
Berkey.
I did see a picture of a giant brownish dick on your Twitter.
That was a bad one.
Oh,
And it stayed up
boy.
for like 3 days.
All the cranberries going for all of it.
Okay, so when I
giants,
get
it
sent
means like
unsolicited
this.
dick pics,
Some guy sent
I
it.
didn't ask to
Giant
see
bread.
it, so I think
Kentucky.
everyone else who didn't
this
ask
a-
to see it should share in the pain.
Okay, we've got a big hand here.
You're being a bit of a dick.
Oh, boy.
Who's in the hand? Oh.
Who's in the hand?
People with the chips.
See, it's not just
Take
me.
a breath, guys. Take a breath. You know what I mean?
If you want, we
let
can all
this
just
guy-
leave. You've been doing that anyway.
Berkey's only got $2 behind him. Why have you gone all in for 500?
How much does he have, Rob?
A little $2.
The chat's going nuts here, Nick.
Did you expect him
It's a
not
little
to
bit
So many
sick.
think they're going to fold. They're
What do you mean,
screaming
Bob?
for him to
Yeah.
fold.
Of
A
course,
lot of
ankle
people
biters
think
always
he's
do.
going to call.
Oh, you got the
9-10
ankle
is a
biters.
very real
Yeah,
hand.
ankle biters,
Airball
always
can
do.
You're telling him
have
about ankle biters.
the double
right?
gut shot on the
Absolutely.
turn.
Brick City.
Fucking Lynn and
The ace of diamonds is kind
In
of.
JRB's game when we were like playing 2, 4, 3, 6.
It would be a
me
good
and
fold
then,
if he came
like,
with it, don't you think?
Jeremy.
other
Jeremy's
players.
an ankle biter.
Jeremy and then Daria. Yeah, we would always buy in
Jeremy
for like
who?
whatever the min was. Jeremy Stein something. He's from the like DC.
New
Burkey
York.
gets stacked right away.
Oh, boy.
Life is good.
Oh, here we go.
Give me all the chips.
Oh,
Yeah, I patented that.
Oh.
I can't say that.
Rob.
I'll take it all.
The fuck?
Does
That's not
this
the
count for
pot.
the heads up match?
The
or-
fireworks begin. Airball.
I think he's gonna want all
okay.
your
Don't
chips,
don't
Burkey.
scare the dealer here.
With
Airball,
the
they're coming.
first strike. Connects with a haymaker. Burkey's
have
not
to
going
give
anywhere,
everybody
though.
your
He's
chips?
going to reload.
You have to give people your chips. That's an absolute rule.
I want
You have to give him your chips.
That's an absolute rule.
You have to give him the chips.
I can't wait
That's
to
Wow.
right.
His chips.
Your
my
chips.
chips, motherfucker.
Wow.
Oh,
Welcome to
boy.
Live Stream 2023.
Keep playing.
Oh, shit.
So, for those that don't know, Berkey and Airball have some history. I remember watching a video of them like standing up next to each other at a poker table and kind of bumping each other's chest and literally almost throwing down.
I remember that. It was in Bobby's room, right?
Yeah, at the Bellagio. So there's definitely history there, history between the two. And then you watch a clip like that, and Nick Airball likes to get under people's skins. He obviously is not afraid to get into some big hands. And then Berkey obviously is just a very stoic type of figure. And not saying he shies away from drama, but obviously doesn't go looking for it either. And that obviously just kind of rubbed him the wrong way and whatnot. But the fact that there's a history there, definitely plays into it. And I think we're going to continue to see that happen. I mean, if I'm Berkey or if I'm Nick Airball and I'm being invited to these like $1 million buy-in games and I know you're there, like I'm probably going to be there too. And and as these $1 million games continue to go on, the $1 million game, Hustler is coming back, and as they continue to pop up, we're just going to continue to see these players coming and whatnot. So I expect more drama to pop up from them in the near future. So cool. Well, that is going to end tonight's stream. A couple things I want to mention before we sign off. We do have some guest spots coming up here at the end of this month. Not going to name exactly who's going to be on here, but we do got one of our Snap Call buddies that's going to be on, essentially a local pro here in Florida. We've got one of the I like to think kind of like the OG Instagram poker players, that we all kind of knew who he was, 7, 8, 9 years ago. Still in the area, still playing poker, so he's going to be on the stream, and then hopefully we'll have some more additional guest spots coming up soon. Definitely check us out, YouTube, Twitch, Kick. If you don't catch us live, absolutely jump on any of those platforms and you can watch any of our videos at any of the other times. TikTok, we're loading up content daily. But as we grow, we're definitely looking for your input, your engagement. So we're going to be doing some more engaging posts really, really soon here. And just appreciate all the support. And, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, like, subscribe. Don't be afraid to give us a review. We will give you a shout out. We'll read it on the air.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we'll definitely feature some comments. And if you disagree with something I say, something he says, something I says, let us know in the comments. We're all about the banter. We're all about having a good time. And that's the great thing about poker, right? Is we're not always right, and we don't know everything. So catch you guys next Monday. Thanks for tuning in.
See you.
Yeah, I'm feeling myself right now. It's a new year. We about to do this. Let's go. I feel like the king of my city. Tony Montana. Whole lot of bands I gotta spend. I might go cut me a mansion. I feel like the king of my city. Tony Montana. I'm feeling godly. They wanna stop me. They tryna hold me for ransom. Now if I said it, I meant it. A lot of them feeling offended when you always winning and winning. I'm sorry you made a decision. A lot of women that I've been with, it's none of your business. I'm keeping my life on the low. Got a lot of shit you don't gotta know, cause all of the music gon' handle its own. These rappers be part of reality shows. That ain't for me, I'm one of a kind. All of your clout gon' run out of shine. I'm an investment, nothing to mess with. I just be getting better over time. I feel like I'm Tony Montana the way way that I live it. I'm making a beat and I kill it. I haven't missed in a minute. They tryna do what I do, but the shoe never fitted. I feel like the king of my city, Tony Montana. Whole lot of bands I gotta spend. I might go cop me a mansion. I feel like the king of my city, Tony Montana. I'm feeling godly, they wanna stop me. They tryna hold me for ransom. I've been feeling underestimated. I'm in between irrelevant and famous. I ain't really tryna